Hello, welcome to Law Master's Lair. I am Law Master, here today for another God video. We'll still look at the newly released Shining Kingdoms and at Dwarven deities. So let's take time to look at one of the Dwarven deities who has had the most profound impact on Five Kings Mountain, and a deity who was cast out of the Dwarven pantheon. Droskar, Dwarven deity of cheating, exploitation, and toil. First, as always, we'll look at where you can do the hard work yourself and find information on Droskar. As always, we have the two Gods and Magic books for each edition, and a Divine Mystery book, though these only have scant information for the Dark Smith himself. Where we actually cut to the point and get a full write-up of him is in the fourth book of the Age of Ashes adventure path, titled Fires of the Haunted City. Considering how recent it was that he was given a full write-up, his domain is actually not in Plain Adventures. However, we still have plenty of side tangents today, which can be found in places like the Monster Codex, Dwarfs of Golarion, the Sky King's Tomb adventure path, and Artifacts and Legends, an old favorite of this channel. Droskar was once Torag's greatest apprentice. That was until the day Torag found that Droskar was secretly having all his work done by imprisoned Dwarven demigod. Yeah, Torag was not happy, and so he both banished Droskar from the pantheon and cursed him so that his hands would never be able to produce anything of worth. Droskar, in turn, released his anger by destroying his foremost slave, lest the Laos take his place after he was thrown out. The split now formalized by bloodshed, Droskar descended into the Darklands. Droskar appears as a giant male dwarf, and I mean giant. He is always the tallest person in the room he is in, no matter how tall he needs to be to achieve that. The hair on his head and face are thick and made of the blackest smoke. He dresses in an apron made of red dragon hide and keeps his arms bare to show off the scars and burns across them. He always wields his two legendary items, the hammer Kawadosh and the soul chain. Of course, Droskar was not alone in the darkness. Not only were there many twisted abominations of the Darkland, but there were also dwarfs. Dwarfs who had refused the edict of their god, who stayed at their homes where they saw safety, but found the walls closing in around them as more and more monsters came. They were vulnerable, and that is what Droskar wanted. So he made a deal with the dwarfs and became their protector, as long as they always remembered they were indebted to him. The dwarves are mocked, and from that day forward, the Hingyar served the Dark Smith. That's probably not even close how to pronounce the name, but whatever. Which brings us to our first side tangent, the part of the show where I need to double check every time to make sure I get the name right. Today, we are dealing with those changed by Droskar, the Hingyar, or Draugrs as they were known before their master. This ashen gray dwarven ancestry has thrived in the Darklands since the deal made with Droskar, and they continue to maintain the shining city built with their own hands. They of course do so by building their entire society on toil, and for billing debts by charging for many things, which essentially bars those who want to leave their cities from doing so without long months or even years of back-breaking work. Droskar's followers know they will be safe and successful just as long as they unceasingly toil, eventually preparing them to spend eternity working the Ashen Forge. The ends always justify the means, however, and figuring out how to make others indebted to you and work for you is smiled upon by the Dark Smith. Sloth, however, is just inviting those below you to overturn the situation, leading to the lazy with the collar around their neck. Greatness is repetition. Success is building from failure, and one must be willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get ahead. Which brings us to our second side tangent, one of the largest events in the Five Kings Mountain history, the Forge Wars. It all started with Ordric Tokric, advisor of the king, though advisor in this case means controlling one with addictive substances, which he slowly used to force him to give power to the Droskari priests. However, eventually this was not enough, and in 4369 AR, he killed his brother and took the throne of Five Kings Mountain for himself. This triggered a 13-year-long war where loyalists to the true crown tried to force him off, but they were eventually slain. This led to a period where Ordric was a central theocrat, and the nation was under Droskar's rule. Priests of Droskar extol the value of hard work, claiming it is a necessity to gain a comfortable role in Droskar's afterlife. Surprisingly, they often live up to what they preach, working multiple jobs as hard as they can. The church has a strict hierarchy. A council of 7 known as the Chainwrights sit at top, one each for the greatest of Droskar's cathedrals. Below them are individual masters of each group of worshippers, the Forge Masters, and none of them are all other lay worshippers. Obedience to a master is absolute, but the masterless are not instructed to seek a master, and a servant retains the right to kill their master if an opportunity is left opened. For temples, they take the form of large cathedral forges, where many toil away at the smithy. There are foundries, mills, and quarries, and other places where work continues endlessly. In the center is a raised dais, with an anvil which acts as the altar. In these places, the continual improvement of the temple is the primary focus of the worship, to the point where it is considered to have reached near perfection. For those who worship in secret, it typically is as easy as a holy symbol on the bottom of an anvil, making each clang of the metal a prayer. Which seems like the time to talk about Side Tangent 3. Droskar has 7 great cathedrals, all monuments of architecture. We only know 2 of them, and while the hanging pillars are interesting, the one we have a decent amount of information for is the Arkvazov Horlog. Built in Hagograf, the capital city of the Hingyar, it was built to honor the Taskmaster General, who retook the city from the Morlocks. The clock has 6 hands and is numbered in 7 languages. The clock tracks the passage of time of the sun on the surface, but some say it also measures the output of Droskar's forges themselves. Droskar's realm is the Ashen Forge, a series of mine shafts in the outer realms. Inside is an endless series of forges, the fires of the realm themselves heating the forge, and the blood of the darksmith's enemies itself used to quench. All those who serve Droskar walk in his dark furnace, as he watches it all from the center in the forge throne, made from those who would dare disobey him. On to other facts of the faith. The Darksmith's faith is not only among Hingyar, but also it most certainly is most pronounced among them. Droskar only has one holiday, and as one might expect, it is also about working. The tithe being where one shows off their work of the year, and a chance for the hardest workers to be elevated, maybe even higher than their current masters. Droskar's holy text is the Book of Chains, the transcript of the first prophet of Droskar, who dictated the book as his god's flames consumed him from within. Copies are usually made of steel plates, bound with metal rings. Finally, relationships. Of course, Droskar is on bad terms with most of the Drovan Pantheon, and the only faith not entirely to exclude him being of Drengvit. I'm not going to pronounce that. He also gets along with those who grew on the side of the Five Kings Mountain, the prophets of Kalistrad. To end this off, we have one final side tangent. The acts of the Drovan Lords. Now, some of you who watch all of the monthly merchant videos, which when I still make them, I should really try to put together one of them one of these months, but whatever. Whoever watches all the monthly merchant videos knows that the item was already featured in one of those. Well, that was the item. How did it become lost? Well, it was a forge wars. When Ordric won, he took the axe and hid it. Its power to declare the true Drovan ruler, kind of an issue for a pretender of the throne. To this day, it is still imprisoned in Droskar's Crag, ensuring the true lineage of the dwarves are never again realized. Which brings the end to today's video. Again, I keep bringing it up, but Shining Kingdoms is out now, with Battlecry on the way. And next week, we'll be doing another planned video in preparation for Starfighter 2e. I'll see you all then.